the first thing they're hearing. That's the first thing they're hearing because I just went live. Hi, everybody, and welcome to MMOFTW Live with myself, Bill Murphy, and Rob Crackulin Lashley. What a way to start the show. Say hi, Rob, if you didn't already.
Hello.
That was him going, nah, nah, nah. Yeah, so this is MMOFTW Live. This is your weekly MMO news recap show live here on Twitch from MMORPG.com. And in case you didn't know, there was a lot of stuff going on this week, so let's brief recap.
I just went back into standard
Yeah, well,
view.
that's awesome. We'll let it stay that way, although you have black bars
I
around
have
you.
black bars now. I'm in
okay.
prison. Help me, Bill. Let
That
me out of
means
the black bars.
Chances are we're probably going to have internet issues again this time. Who knows? We can never win on this show lately. But okay, so top 5 stories of the week. Number 1, Tera, free to play worldwide in February. We have the Pathfinder interview that we just launched today as the team over at GoblinWorks strive towards their $1 million Kickstarter goal. And we have the Even Dust integration complete. They are now one shared universe fighting one shared war. And Earthrise, another weird out-of-nowhere revival, was revived by a Russian company, I believe, called Silent Future. It's in closed beta now and is working towards a re-release. And The Secret World, this is good news for everybody who's a fan of The Secret World. They're, since going buy to play, they are now up by about 400% player activity, whatever that means. But they've also sold like several thousand more copies. Like I think they said almost... It was a 30% increase from the original amount that they had sold, so that's...
They've sold like 70,000 copies is what I saw since they've gone
so like
buy to play.
Yeah, like a 30% increase, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Reduced price, people jumping in. And in our community spotlight, we will talk about, do you enjoy grouping? Rob, do you enjoy grouping real briefly?
I do.
Okay, we'll talk about why when we get to that part. All right, starting off, Tera, free to play. It's the video that is playing right now, the Tera Risen is what they're calling it. It's like the main story. They're even actually ending the original storyline. I think it's you've beaten back the bad guys in this first part, and there's a huge update coming out in February, which will be the launch of the Tera Risen sort of edition of the game, which is like a hybrid free to play. So those of you who didn't know, man, my phone is going crazy from Twitter now. But for those of you who didn't know, Tera will have a subscription model still for people that want to subscribe, but anybody and everybody will be able to just pick it up and play it, have access, I think, to a couple character slots and all of the zones, all of the dungeons, and everything else like that. Very, I don't know, in my eyes, it's a very, very good business model. There's no funky limitations to your action bar, Star Wars. There's nothing that you're really losing by being a free member. You just don't have as many perks as the people that subscribe. Like you have some limitations on your auction housing or broker, I think is what they call it. You have some limitations to your characters and stuff like that, to how many you can have. But I don't know, Rob, you and we both played Tera for a while, so what do you think? Good move?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that always plagued this game from the very beginning was everybody was like, when's it going to go free to play? You know, it wasn't like, maybe it's going to go free to play. I'm going to wait for it if it goes free to play. It's like, when's it going free to play? Because that's when I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
So hopefully we see a resurgence in sales of this game. I mean, you've been able to find it at Amazon for $15 here and there. So, I mean, if you don't have it, keep your eye out for it. And there are actually perks to having purchased a boxed copy of the game. You get what's called a Founder's Pack. You can actually do this
right now.
Now, or even after the game goes completely free to play, you could still buy a boxed copy of it and get labeled with the Founder's title. And this will allow you to have 8 characters as opposed to just only having 2.
Yeah.
Even VIP characters are going to VIP players will only have 2 character slots if they don't actually buy a physical box copy of the game. So it's kind of like, might as well, because it's going to boil down
too. I mean, if you look anywhere, I think it was on sale at some places for like $5 the other week.
You know what? You're right. Actually, it was $5 on Amazon for like a one-day sale.
Yeah.
So you can find it relatively cheap. Find it less than a month's cost of subscription now. And there's going to be some perks. And again, there's not a level restriction.
Mm-mm.
There's not a race class combo
You're
restriction.
not missing out any content. You can see
Yeah.
all the dungeons, which are fantastic in this game.
Exactly. You're not getting longer cooldowns of the dungeons. You're just going to have the normal cooldown,
Yeah.
whereas like a VIP subscriber is going to have like half the cooldown time on their
Yeah.
dungeons, so they'll be able
they
to do
get
better.
a perk, yeah.
Yeah, you'll also get like a couple extra loot things at the end if you're a subscriber, as opposed to that's a pretty cool spider-like mount
that mount
they've
was
added
rad.
in. Yeah, and so's that one too, which is another thing. The founders are going to get
An awesome mount.
a mount. Yeah, I don't know what it looks like
Yeah.
yet, but
Well,
hey,
and that's
free
what
mount for 15. A mount for $15. Most people would pay $15 for
the
a
mount.
really cool mount in a
and
cash
this game
shop.
you'll be using the mount everywhere you go because the world's
Yeah,
so
it's-
freaking huge.
And it's insta spawn too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's like
wonderful.
everywhere you walk, you just press your mount button, which for me was always like F1 or something like that. And I would just like I would use my mount for like
I
the
bind it
100th.
to the noggin.
Yeah,
Hit it with one of my thumb
I would
buttons.
use it to get from like one mob to the next. That's how bad it got. Like I'm like
Yeah.
I love this mount.
It was
It
so
goes
quick.
so fast.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be the cash shop too, and the cash shop, as we've seen examples of already, or I shouldn't say we've seen them, but what they've said is it's going to be mostly fluff items and like experience potions and things like that. The kind of stuff that has become very, I guess, accepted in Western MMOs. Nothing that's like you can't buy gear, you're not going to buy your way to power, but you can sure as heck get pretty sparkly ponies and things like that, and weapon skins and stuff like that too. So,
Which are all great things to put in a cash shop because then you don't have to worry about being it's buy to win. And we're actually talking about Tera right now for to answer Ryle Wolf in chat.
what was he asked? What was he talking about? I'm not even.
If
watching
we were talking
chat.
about Tera or TSW, which I mean, I say you confused because this is very similar.
Yeah, very similar.
On the subscription model, or on I shouldn't say subscription model, but on the business model.
On the business model, and it's a good one. It's a good one to copy, really. Only in this case, with Tera, you won't have to buy it to play it. Not like Secret World, where you have to buy it.
Correct.
You'll be able to just as soon as February 23rd, I think it is the date. You'll be.
I
able,
didn't think that they had a date.
They don't have one listed. I thought there was.
Maybe
Could be
they
wrong.
have since they did, but yesterday they had said that there wasn't a hard set date yet.
Maybe I don't have.
But it will
any.
be in February.
Let's see. I thought it was actually on the page for Tera, so I'm gonna look it up right now.
Okay.
Maybe I'm crazy. At least that's where I read it, or like an email I got. But yeah, I mean, it's if you formerly had an account and haven't been subscribed, it's activated now. You could re-download the game or boot it up and patch it, and I think until the 16th at the very earliest you'll be able to play. But Rob's saying his account says it's to the 24th, and he didn't pay for that time, so maybe it depends on what your level of purchase was.
Yeah, I saw some misconceptions by people on our social media things, G Plus, which by the way we got a G Plus community for MMORPG.com.
Yeah. So if you literally go to communities and type in the search bar MMORPG, you will find us. You'll see our logo and everything. There's no direct link without putting like 300 numbers after it. So
yeah. People were complaining because they saw all of a sudden their account was reactivated. They're like, "Oh no, am I getting billed?" It's like, no, you're not getting billed. They're throwing everybody a couple free days of gameplay time.
It even says in the email, your account's reactivated because we're giving you some free time to come back before the free to play.
Yeah.
But people don't read, I've come to know. Writing words and everybody just reads the number that's attached to a review. I kind of understand why people don't read.
Hey, we're banking on it. That's why they're watching us.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So Tera, free to play in February. Let me look up real quick. I swear to God that it had something about the actual date. Maybe I'm just insane.
I could agree to that.
I probably am. Rob, dance while people are waiting for me to find this info.
I do this for my 10-month-old daughter all the time. I sit her and
what?
I dance because she'll be screaming and I'll just start dancing. She's like, "Oh, Daddy's dancing. I'll dance too."
I could tell you.
She'll start clapping and.
I can tell you exactly what it was. I read February 2013 as February 213, or 23rd. There's no date yet, but who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky because I like the fact that it's active until the 16th, but I'm probably not going to get time to play before then. I wanted to play tonight with Rob. That was the goal, as we would play while we talked, but it's still downloading because apparently lots of people are downloading it. It's taken all day.
They had a really terrible downloader when the game first went live too.
Yeah, it was, but this is real bad. I'm talking
it's free. You know, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, it's free. So what are you gonna do? Maybe they shouldn't use
QQ more, Bill.
SourceForge. They shouldn't use SourceForge as their downloader. Um, anyway, that's not the truth. That's not what they're using. Okay, moving right along, we go to the Pathfinder Online interview that we launched today. Sorry about the crappy quality of the video with this. It was only I could only find it at 360p, and I stretched it out to fit that screen. So a game does not look that pretty right there. But Pathfinder Online, for those of you who don't know, is based off the popular pen and paper IP. It is on Kickstarter right now from Goblin Works Games. They're an independent MMO developer led by Ryan Dancy. And basically, it's going to be a huge sandbox MMO with lots of lateral progression and all these other really cool features. But as they near, I think they got about 6 days left to go for their...
No, they're down to 3.
3 days? 3 days
Yes.
left to go. Is it Tuesday then? No, 3 days? What day would that be? Friday, Saturday, like
Friday's-
Monday? Or is it Sunday that
Sounds like that. They're at 6,063 backers, $756,279 out of a million.
They're more
with
than
3 days to go.
75% of the way to go with 3 days to go. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch out there and say that everything I've seen from these guys, give them some money. We've been craving sandboxes and things like that for so long, and everything that they're trying to put together, just go to the Kickstarter page and watch the video and tell me you're not impressed with their ideas. And yes, it's just on paper, but throw a little change at them, because if
That's
you
not
don't-
entirely true.
What's that? What's not?
If you
entirely
go to the Kickstarter page, you can actually click about halfway down.
The tech
They
demo.
have the tech demo,
Yeah.
which is powered by Unity, so you don't really have to download and install anything. It's like
Well,
a plugin for your browser.
The video we're seeing has some of the tech demo and stuff like that too
Yeah,
shown in it.
but they could see it on their browser and not have to worry about it being 360 or 720 versus 1080. Or she is very gruff in this video. She's like, "Oh, I'm excited. That's what excites me." It's like, oh my god. It's like, watch out for her. She's gonna hurt somebody.
I want you to try to say that guy's name. Dasha. I don't know. But yeah, these are the people that are
actually
making
the H is probably silent, so it's Dacia.
Dasha. Okay,
Yes.
so let's get to the point that we're trying to get to, though, is not necessarily just the Kickstarter. We're not here to pimp this game. Go to the Kickstarter page, read about it, see if it's something you want to get behind. I definitely recommend it personally. But what I want to talk about is sort of a controversy that was raised around it. Basically, they're going to be charging some sort of a subscription for what they're calling early enrollment, which is also, I guess you could say, it's kind of a beta, but they're using the term early enrollment. Now, there are two sides of this coin. Is holy crap, you're charging a subscription for a beta for an independent MMO. Goblin Works doesn't see it that way. They see it as, yes, they're going to be charging money for this beta. They're a small independent studio, for one. And the subscription dollars will help them continue to create the game, while those players who are most interested in playing it will be putting forth effort towards, I guess, honing it, not necessarily catching bugs and things like that, like a typical beta, but really directing the actual design of the game. Like the early enrollment period is to sort of shape the MMO for everybody that comes afterwards. So by charging a subscription, I think their goal, and this is what Ryan says in the interview on MMORPG.com, is to get the players that really care about the Pathfinder IP and about the sandbox MMO and the sort of design to come in and help direct the game. How many times have you been a part of a beta and felt like, okay, so I'm playing this game for free before launch, but I know nothing I say is going to matter, so I'm just going to come in, log in, and decide if I want to buy it. That's not what the early enrollment period's about. The early enrollment period is, I'm going to buy it, I want to help design it, so I've pledged a little bit of money maybe on the Kickstarter so I could get in and all that stuff, but I'm going to pledge even more money with my subscription dollars, and I'm going to help you drive the way the sandbox works. Is that crazy? Maybe, but it might work for the purpose, right? I rambled forever.
I really have issue with them charging money for a beta period, regardless of what they call it. Now, let me preface that. In a previous episode, we talked about Final Fantasy XIV and how they essentially were back to a beta.
Yeah.
And they let it be for free for almost a year, and then they're like, "Well, we're going to start charging again." and people were paying, and I was like, this is lunacy. You know, you're paying to play a game that has a short shelf life and is essentially beyond being a beta. That it was almost like an alpha, but pre-alpha, because they were going to scrap so much of it and relaunch. And I took some heat for that from the community, because I was like, man, it's crazy. Why would you pay money for that? But at the same time,
It is optional.
it's optional. I mean, well, you cannot play it. Yeah. Obviously, we can choose what we do. And if the company, and in this case, Goblin Works, if they can do it and people are willing to pay for it, I mean, then by all means, if you in business, it's pretty much what can you get away with, you know, and where can you fleece people. But I do agree in principle with some of the things that they're saying as far as this isn't really a beta to bug test. This is more of it. We're going to create the tool set. We're going to plop you down in it. And this is actually something we've talked about before as well. It's like, hey, let's start just making smaller scale sandboxes with really rudimentary rules, but a great IP, and build out from there and see where it takes us. And I think this actually could be the kind of the perfect storm of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's for one, it has a fantastic IP, which is a kind of lesser known. You don't really know what Pathfinder is unless you go looking for it, but it's also got some of the best ideas for a sandbox, the kind of stuff that you saw in Ultima Online, sort of refresh for a new generation too, with like the lateral progression and the skill progression and everything else like that, and player run economy, player built world, and in general. What I'm concerned about is that they now have, as you said, 3 days left, and they need $250,000. We've seen that happen for some titles, but I don't know about something sort of low profile like Pathfinder. It seems like they're going to have to reevaluate what they can do with the money they do get.
Remember, with the way Kickstarter works, if they don't hit that $1 million mark,
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
No one gets. You don't get charged.
But
there's no money.
There was a game that was just reinstated, or maybe a sort of some sort of application that was just reinstated from like Super M, a small company that was reinstated to Kickstarter today. They were like able to extend their period and go for it again, or something like that, or for an additional amount of money.
I would think maybe
that's not unprecedented.
I would think maybe you get to restart, but with the way the agreement works, if I give you if I pledge to it, and you don't make the goal, I mean, my pledge is off the table. So I don't see how Kickstarter would be able to say, okay, well, we'll give you an extension, because at that point I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, I pledged, it said within 30 days. That's great. But now all of a sudden I'm looking around and no one else wants to too, and now you're getting an extension and you're riding the possibility of getting money. Maybe I'm starting to get nervous, because I'm like, you know, if you sit around here and like, what, 2 years from now you wrote out get your super secret special probation extension.
Well, it makes you,
bam, I got like $50 on my MasterCard. It's like, where'd that come from?
It makes you wonder if if Kickstarter doesn't work, if it falls through, this company obviously has a large game plan. Are they going to seek funding elsewhere? Are they going to take the systems, take maybe their tech demo, put something behind that, and open it up to the sort of early enrollment, paid for beta program right then and there?
Well, they already had one successful Kickstarter. They asked for $50,000 to make the tech demo, and they got like $330.
Yeah,
I think they got like $330,000 when they asked for 50. So I think they're like, oh, this is easy money. Kickstarter, bam, here we come. Ask for 50, you get 330. Ask for $1 million, people get 10.
Yeah,
you know. I've only ever and I'm on the fence with this one. I'm telling you. And this
Did you pull the trigger yet?
I haven't. This is why I texted you earlier today to see if you had.
I've never kickstarted anything. I'm gonna throw that out there.
I've kickstarted one thing, and that was the new Shadowrun by Harebrained Studios, which is the original designer who was able to get the IP back. So I'm very excited. I love playing Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo.
I'm probably going to. I don't know if I'm going to throw $50 at this. What's the base again? Oh.
$5.
Is there anything above $5? I don't want to throw $5 at it.
Well, you can throw whatever.
Good.
You can but
see, this is how noob of a Kickstarter I am. I haven't kickstarted anything.
The reward levels go. It's 5, and then 15. You'll get a PDF for Super Dungeon. To actually get the game is 35.
35. That's worth it.
And it's got some interesting items. And if you actually play Pathfinder, the pen and paper, at the $15 level, you'll get a PDF of like some adventure, a super dungeon PDF, which is something you can play in your own campaign at home. So they kind of make it worth your while in that extent.
Yeah.
I really kind of hope that this one exceeds. I think they might have been a little bit ambitious with the price they put on it. I think, if they had gone like $500,000, 750, because one of the original premises was when they kickstarted the tech demo was they were going to build the tech demo, they were going to take the tech demo and then shop it around to investors and get the money to make the game. Now I'm concerned that
they don't have an investor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've all seen what happens when you don't get
there have been
financials behind the game, and I'm concerned that even if they do come through and they get a mill, is it going to be enough? And I don't want to be doom and gloom, but Pathfinder, Kickstarters can fail even if they're successfully funded.
Well, it surprises me that they wouldn't have had financing, only because I know that Origins of Malu, which is a completely unique small IP that nobody's ever heard of. It's something that the original IP made by those guys that are making it, whose company name I can't think of. Origins of Malu, they were in Kickstarter. They were striving to I think hit a goal about the same amount of money for their game. I think $1 million. And right towards the end of it, they called off the Kickstarter because they got the funding. They got their investor dollars, and they were able to say, you guys don't have to worry about it, but if you have Kickstartered us, don't worry, we're working with Kickstarter to get your names for those that we're going to submit, we're going to back us, and we'll do something special for you guys, but don't worry, we have the funding, so we're good to go. And now they're working towards development and beta and everything like that. So it would surprise me if a game like Pathfinder with that IP and the company Paizo, is it Paizo? Is that how you say it? Behind them, doesn't.
I don't know how to say that one.
Doesn't have some sort of investment backing or some other, maybe a backup plan. So we'll see. I guess is really.
I think that this game is probably going to get made, regardless of whether this Kickstarter goes through or not. I mean, you and I have seen some pretty janky Kickstarters in the past, and I had to do an interview for one of them where. It was kind of like, really? It's like, you want 250,000? This ain't getting funded. Like day 20, they're at like 25,000. Like, yeah, you might want to. Needless to say, by the way, that company didn't make it.
Didn't make it. But you know who did make it? Because he's Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
It's like, my wife will leave me if you don't kickstart me, and then everybody. We should do that. Like, here's a small child that that will die, or here's a small kitten that I will eat if you don't kickstart me, and that'll work.
I don't know about all that, but back to the original controversy. I'm really torn. I think it's the business practice. If you can get people to pay to come in and do the beta and put it under the guise of, you're helping. This is early access. Then call it early access or call it beta or call it something, but don't say, hey.
Well, and it wasn't there. Again, let me read this interview. Let me read this interview a little bit more, again, because we can pick it apart. I think he even said that post-launch it's going to have a different sort of monetizations process. So like the only subscription period might have been during that early enrollment. So hang tight because it's loading slow.
It's really interesting. I don't know how you kind of monetize this game since almost everything is going to be driven by the community because it's a sandbox. Also, I'm kind of amazed that with all the people on our own website, MMORPG.com, that just absolutely, you say sandbox, they start coming out of the woodwork. Sandbox.
Well, I can give you some background on that in a second. Okay, but yes, Ryan did say that once the game is out of early enrollment, it will become a hybrid model, and he says that Turbine's Lord of the Rings is sort of their model. You'll either pay via subscription or pay via microtransaction for content and for things like that. So,
but if the players are the content, what do you?
I don't know what you'd be buying. I don't know what the microtransactions would be. Some ability to play for free on a trial basis, but have not yet determined how that will work in practice. It will be something that we work on during early enrollment so that we get a good balance between giving people a chance to decide if Pathfinder Online is right for them and still maintaining a healthy business. The core of our microtransaction strategy is selling training time, just like EVE Online does with Plex. There you go. Players will be able to buy training time in increments, we assume 1 day, 1 week, and 1 month. They'll be able to sell that time on in-game markets for in-game coin. Just like Plex, that means that some players will be able to buy all the training time they need because they're able to generate enough in-game wealth to afford it. Other players will be supporting those people by selling them game time and getting in-game coin in return, making it easier for them to play without worrying about sources of income. It's a great system, well tested by CCP. The cash shop will also have minor consumables, convenience items, and bling, stuff to make your character unique and distinctive. Our commitment to the community is that nothing sold in the cash shop will be better than goods that can be crafted and created by characters in-game, and that nothing we sell will be de facto necessary to have top-quality character. Is that pretty much cut and dry, right?
No pay to win.
No pay to win. So
that's good.
At this point, it would be more of a story if there was a game that comes out and said, "Yeah, we're pay to win." But okay, so that's Pathfinder.
I'll make that game.
You'll make that one. See, and you know the thing is I bet money, at least really early on, you'd make a crap ton of cash, and then it would die. Okay, so Pathfinder Online, and moving right along to Dust. Dust this week, CCP Games, they announced that the integration with EVE Online is 100% complete. They now share the Singularity server. They are they are one. They are one with each other. So the PS3 exclusive Dust, which is a first-person shooter, sort of MMO where different squads are fighting, different corporations really are fighting over territory. A little bit like PlanetSide 3, but less open world. And then, of course, ties right in to the universe of EVE Online. So the planets that are in EVE Online are the planets that the soldiers are fighting over. And if you get the planets as a soldier and your corporation owns these planets as a soldier, you then have valuable resources then given to your corporation in space. And yeah, you can see how this goes. It's pretty freaking amazing. That's all I'm going to put it. Like, this is one of those pie-in-the-sky sort of MMO designs that two games are completely different yet share the same universe, and I just think it's fantastic that they managed to do it. Say what you will about PS3 exclusive and all that.
They are keeping the economies separate, though, right at the time.
At the beginning,
they
don't,
yeah.
Because it's a very serious business with spaceships.
Yes. That's what they said in the release. Spaceships are serious business.
Although I think the goal is to still get to it at one point, which I wonder how they're going to do that.
I think that's really one of the driving factors is the fact that you're going to, your corporations in EVE are going to want to pay these Dust players to
your mercenaries and things like that.
Mark it out.
Mm-hmm.
I've
been in the beta for a little bit. I haven't played in a while, but it was a ton of fun. It was just in the beta that when I was playing it, they had just introduced the ability to play mouse and keyboard as opposed to the controller, and I played mouse and keyboard, which even me, who I'm terrible at shooters, even I was better than any of the players that were still stuck using the controller. But I think ever since then they've done some really fantastic stuff with like matchmaking. It actually tells what players are using mouse and keyboard and what aren't, and it will try to match mouse and keyboard up with mouse and keyboard and the controllers up with the controllers. But I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. All we know is that this is the last wipe for Dust, so they're essentially, I guess you could call it launch. It's pretty much one of those betas that, like Grax said last week, if you sneeze, you can get into it.
Yeah.
It's not too hard. But, so that's cool. That's really cool. Even Dust are one. It's a pretty momentous occasion, and I hope we see more of it in the future. I'd love to see, get to the point where you have different games like this that are both MMOs, but completely separate from each other, yet somehow linked via the economy. It's just a really cool idea, and I don't know where else you would have that, but I think it's cool.
I think these crazy Icelanders, this is a pretty amazing idea that they pulled off. I just really don't have my finger on the pulse of the EVE community, so I'm not exactly sure how well Spaceship Commanders are going to accept these dirty grunts, and maybe they won't. I could totally see it, but like, hey, shut up, go shoot something. It's
funny.
Isk,
it's funny you said that because we had Adam Tingle go to FanFest last year,
Yep.
and he asked those questions of the players and stuff like that. And obviously at FanFest, you're going to find EVE hardcore players, like the people that love CCP and love their games, and they were unanimously for it. They love the idea that even if they never wanted to pick up Dust, they could have these sort of like underlings and mercenaries and or even co-workers, like people like, okay, yeah, I'm a ship captain and I'm a captain out in space, but I need my general down on the floor, and like they work together. It's just like any other military. There are some really serious people about this stuff, so it'll be interesting. Even if I never play it again, I'm gonna watch this game's politics from afar because it's always so interesting. It's unlike any other universe in the MMO space.
Yeah. I hope they turn their eyes to World of Darkness, not that game.
God, me too. That's more my speed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I be honest with you, if they said, hey, we're going to do Dust 514 or we're going to do World of Darkness, I'd be like, WAD.
Yeah, please.
Do it.
Please.
Do so with that IP you're squatting on.
Either that or just God, do something that's not Eve, and nothing against Eve. I'm just not as much of a sci-fi guy as I am a regular setting, and that's what I would love to see a company with the chops of CCP do.
Yeah. But I really respect Eve, and it's a great proof of concept for the what we keep talking about with these sandboxes.
Mm-hmm.
Build smaller sandboxes, let them grow organically. Stop trying to like throw money at it with we do with the theme parks. And I don't say theme park is a bad word because I very much enjoy theme park MMOs as well. But
there's a place and time for content like that. It's just don't rely on it entirely.
Yep.
I made the somebody asked me what I was talking about in the forum earlier, and I said it's basically by strapping yourself to content, you're trying to be a guy running uphill with a semi-truck strapped to his back at a full sprint for like 10 years, and at that same time you're aging, so you're getting worse at doing it. By aging, I mean you're losing money and you're not going to be able to it costs too much to do it. So these companies, they're like, oh sure, we'll just endlessly churn out content forever. I think at the beginning of the MMO lifespan, they didn't realize how expensive that would be to turn out quality content. And now people are finally catching on that it's not easy, and it only took about 10 years. 10 years. Well, it's been over 10 years since EverQuest came out, and that was sort of the first one to do that. It's just not easy. And I think if you can combine the two, if as people call it, a sand park, if you can have something that has both game-directed content and user systems that allow the player to sort of direct
Neverwinter what?
Neverwinter what? Or WildStar, as they're saying they've got a lot of stuff that's similar to that too. It'll be interesting to see if that becomes a new term that catches on, like it has both theme park and sandbox design elements. Man, I'd be in heaven, really.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so that was Dust, and we are moving right along to Earthrise, where out of nowhere, man, this game was closed down I think in February of last year. I had no idea that it was being brought back, and we actually were the first outlet they contacted when they wanted to tell people that they were going into beta. Nobody else had the information, but apparently they had been in beta already. Like they had just bought this game and put it back up and started working on it and didn't tell really anybody. But it's now called Earthrise. Oh Lord, I had this earlier. This is what happens when I try to do this on a Friday.
This is why we need a producer.
Yeah, this is why we need a producer.
Where you at, Card?
It's Earthrise. It's Earthrise. Come on. Wow, internet.
You should have saw the image he made for me when I said that earlier.
That you needed a producer?
No, but then he said something, and I said, yeah, give me some Pathfinder images and a case of Diet Mountain Dew. And then so he made me a Pathfinder image, and I had a sword made out of Diet Mountain Dew cans, and I was fighting a lizard man that was spewing green M&Ms at me.
That sounds a lot more interesting than me falling asleep on the chair outside.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Earthrise is coming back from a company called Silent Future. They are, I believe, Russian or German. That's unclear to me right now. What would UG be? Let's see. Imprint. UG. Earthrise. They're German. They're from Wuppertal. I am not German, so I'm probably mispronouncing that. But they are a German company called Silent Future, and you can go to playearthrise.com, play-earthrise.com to sign up for the beta today. Some of the things that they're working on basically are getting rid of the Flash-based UI and going to HTML5. They're working on all of the sandbox tools to make them more intuitive and more interesting, and they're also really like pepping up the combat. They say they want it to be more of like an action sandbox MMO, like a shooter. So I expect it, good things, but when we played Earthrise before, it just was not. It was not good. So I hope that these guys can take what was started by Masthead and turn it around, but I'm iffy.
Yeah, and it is German. You can tell by the way because the one person's name is Katharina Weiss, and they do the funny-looking big B for the double S. So that's how you know it's German. Just throwing that out there for you.
Someone's gonna call you a racist again. You got to be careful.
Good lord. It's not like I said they were East German because that doesn't exist anymore. Don't call me racist. So, anyways, another futuristic MMO sandbox.
Another sandbox that somebody still wants to believe in. I mean, it was here before, but it was kind of broken. So somebody's trying to pick up the pieces.
If this is kind of like, help me out here. What was the Gangbanger MMO that came out about 2 years ago?
APB?
Yeah. There we go. So,
Gangbanger MMO.
Well, they're gangbangers, aren't they?
I just never heard anybody call it that before.
But
sorry.
Anyway, that clearly failed. Got picked up by another company.
That Tupac Shakur simulating MMO. What was that one called? Sorry. Continue.
APB. Anyway, get picked up by another company for pennies on the dollar. Revive it. I mean, you've got all these assets that somebody else has already spent their capital and gone bankrupt on, and you're like, whoa, thanks.
And they only spent like I think the APB from Gamers First. I think they spent like a couple $1 million on it.
I think they only spent $1 million.
Yeah, is that
I thought
right?
That's what they got it for.
It was actually publicized, and this is a game that had spent $60 million or something like that in development. Talk about a bargain. Like even if they and it's still going strong. There's still a hardcore community that loves that game.
Well, that's the thing. You don't have a whole lot more money to make back up. I mean, you only spent $1 million if you're the second guy.
Yeah.
As far as pulling these IPs out of bankruptcy, that's why I kind of waiting to see who gets a hold of Amalur. Because I know that game's dead as far as 38 Studios is concerned, but I think we're going to see something from that eventually.
Yeah.
It's too much money that somebody else spent.
I just wish NCSoft wasn't so stringent about holding back on, like, they don't ever want to sell their IPs, because I still want to see Auto Assault come back somewhere. I loved that game.
Good luck.
Never going to happen.
Yeah, you keep pipe dreaming that one.
I will.
And so, real quick, for the people that are like, oh, I want to see a COH2, not going to happen.
Not going to happen. That City of Heroes IP.
Sitting on City of Heroes IP, you'll never see a sequel. It might be called something else.
Yeah, you might see a sequel. You might see City of Heroes blah 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 be like a console game or something else. But that IP that's locked down.
You think you call it City of Heroes?
What's that?
I don't think you could even call it City of Heroes unless you could prove that it was a totally different IP.
Yeah.
Because So, anyways, this is cool. Glad to see it happen. Hopefully, it works out well. They got a low investment, so it's not going to be too much. They really probably won't have to spend that much more money to get it back to a playable state. I know some of the complaints that the players from the community had was it was really laggy. I don't think it was optimized very well, and I think they're trying to address that.
They're doing that too. That was in the press release.
And going to HTML5. So it's cool. One of the things that people always complain about too that I see is that not enough science fiction MMORPGs. So our site, so here we go.
Yeah.
There's another one coming.
And you can sign up for the closed beta at play-earthrise.com, and I'm betting money it won't be that hard to get into because they probably need all the testers they can get. So go sign up if you're one of the few folks watching here. It'll be interesting to see. I bet money by the middle of 2013 we'll be able to pull a verdict on this one. I don't think it would take much longer than that before we start seeing press beta and things like that.
Let me know how it is.
Oh, you don't want to play it?
Oh,
no?
Because there's only about a bajillion betas.
there's just a few other ones. Don't worry, we have to play them all. That's the job.
I know.
Okay, moving along from Earthrise to
let's know.
Secret World. Secret World. This really good news. As probably those of you who watch the show or know Rob and I know that we both really enjoyed Funcom's The Secret World, despite its bumps and warts and bruises, and it just went buy to play a couple well, weeks ago now, really. Um, and its player activity since is up 400%. It has sold over 70,000 more copies since going buy to play and reducing their price. So that's awesome. I mean, I don't think there's anything else you can say. We kind of figured if it didn't go up, we'd have a bigger problem. But
Yeah.
that's great news that people are playing and that more copies are being bought. And I hope that the player shop is doing well because that's their real bread and butter. But
Yeah, it's. I read that email that came out with the numbers at first, and I saw 70,000. I'm like, man, they've only sold 70,000 copies of this game. No wonder it went by to play. And I was like, oh, 70,000 more.
Well, I mean,
Sure.
they had only sold roughly, I think, about 200,000 copies before
Yeah.
it went by to play. So 70,000. I mean, you're talking over
Which, you know,
20%.
If you've only got like a $10 million budget, that's not bad selling
Yeah.
200,000 boxes.
But
But when you're at like, a lot more than that, it's not
That
so
becomes
great.
a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
But they've, they also announced some restructuring of their company, and by that they mean it's not really that
Layoffs.
they were doing any layoffs. No, they weren't doing layoffs for this one.
It's good.
This one was all about focusing on Secret World now, and Age of Conan still has all their devs, and so does Anarchy Online, believe it or not, the small team that's left on that. But now
Yep.
the big focus is going to be on the Lego Minifigs MMO, which we'll hear about soon, I guess.
And is being developed in the mother country for them, Oslo.
In Oslo.
Yeah,
Oslo. Norway.
Yeah.
We got a couple tiny details out of Joel, other than the fact that it won't be anything like the last Lego Universe MMO. It'll be something else entirely. So it'll be interesting to see what it's based, like what it really is.
Yeah. I think
It's
less Minecraft and more, Lego Batman.
more more about the minifigs, less about the building. I think on this
Yeah.
one. But then again, Lego Universe was not too much about the building. It was really about the adventures in these worlds. So I wonder how it's going to differ with the Funcom's version.
Did you ever play Lego Universe?
Yeah, I did.
It's pretty hokey.
It was a little hokey. It was fun though. There were some fun parts to it, the platforming and stuff like that. I think the best part about that game was the building though in game, and they didn't focus
Yeah.
on it enough.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, how do you get
A Lego game, and
how
then
do you get out Legoed by, Notch
Notch.
out Legoed them?
Yeah, he did.
Which is great. Hey, look at
Notch.
Minecraft. I think it's funny. Has anybody seen the Minecraft licensed Legos?
No, I haven't seen
You can
those.
get them on their website. They're Minecraft themed Legos. So they actually licensed the rights to Minecraft back from them and made Legos that were themed off of Minecraft.
Well, that makes
But-
sense. Did you see how Hasbro licensed Words with Friends, which is just Scrabble?
Yeah.
Like to make a Words with Friends board game, like a physical board game for Words with Friends.
Yep.
Because there's somebody out there. It's like I've never heard of Scrabble, but I'll play Words with Friends.
hmm
There's like God. I talked to like a 20-something-year-old not too long ago. Who's like, I don't know who the Beatles are, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old. But yeah, Secret World.
Secret World.
Secret World back.
I'm an Illuminati.
Go Illuminati. Pff,
You dirty Templar.
Templars. You're the one wearing red. Turncoat.
I am, but I'm also bald. At shades. I actually RP'd an Illuminati for like a pre-release stream one time. I wore my suit. I may have actually had.
Cool.
It would have been cool. I did it. What are you talking about? Would have been cool.
That would have been cool to see. I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. They're paying attention. I actually had something at work that day. I had to wear a suit. And
You're
so I
like,
was
I
like,
just
oh,
don't feel like changing.
yeah, so I'll stream with it on.
It'll be
Um,
cool. Speaking of streams, though, Garrett Fuller, for those of you who don't know, he's the guy with the bad microphone that interviewed Tassos Flamboris. But he's fixing his microphone just like Rob fixed his. And Garrett's like a hardcore LARPer. He's got like the coolest orc costume you've ever seen. And there should be an orc live stream coming up soon in character. Just want to throw that out there.
For what?
For just Garrett playing games, live streaming as an orc.
Oh my lord.
Yeah,
That'll be interesting.
that'll be very interesting.
This is cool right here, by the way. You're seeing on the screen.
The Gangnam Style dance.
No,
No,
from what I saw, it was them on the stage, which is a RP kind of element that they added into the game, that theater.
Oh yeah, that's really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for
if you're one of those people that like the RP, they gave it to you.
It's in
And for the
London.
people, yeah, and for the people that are concerned about grouping, the last few times I've gone into the game since it's gone by to play, out of control people
Yeah,
all over
too
the
many
place.
people. Too many
Yeah,
people.
it's like you go into Agartha, which is a transportation hub, and it's
Yeah.
just like that's where everybody's sitting at. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
auction house Orgrimmar. It's like you
Yep.
can't fucking move. There's like people everywhere. It's like, oh my
And
god.
and plus the dungeon finder tool does work really well too. If you don't like the hassle, that's there too. Um, okay, that's Secret
Love the
World.
dungeons, by the way. Can't say enough about them. Quick paced,
Yep,
few
the best you'll
trash
ever.
encounters. Really good.
Honestly, like they're probably the best you'll see from any traditional.
And that guy is badass. That big O at the end of Darkness Falls. Great boss. Sorry, he just flew across the screen.
That's okay. We're gonna leave this video on anyway, so we can talk about it because we're gonna move. That's actually a perfect segue into our final topic, the community spotlight. A forum user basically called everybody out and said, "Do you even enjoy grouping in MMOs?" Because as you probably all know, MMOs are supposed to be about the other people, but more and more these days, it becomes easier and easier to ignore other people and to just play it your way. My feelings, real briefly, are that I like to play solo. I like to play in groups. I like to do both. I think the key for me is finding a group of people that I enjoy playing with more than random people. And sometimes, getting a pug is good, and you'll meet new friends and you'll find people that you want to play with. But I think that's seldom anymore, as opposed to finding the right guild and with the right kind of style for you. But yeah, I like grouping. I just love that MMOs these days are built more with the idea in mind that you can play how you want, and it doesn't have to force you to group. It's just however you want to play. So, my 2 cents. Rob?
I think good games get you to play them, but good communities keep you playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the better the game, the better I think the community kind of around it will be. And I don't necessarily mean like they're going to have the nicest people, but I mean you're going to have a big, strong following for the game. Like,
Or devout, even. They don't even have to be big. They could just be a devout following, and that helps.
but the size
Size matters.
Yeah, the size makes a difference because as far as grouping goes,
Oh, yeah.
the more people to draw from. Personally, I like to be able to go and do things by myself and enjoy the story in a single player fashion if I want to. But there's times I like to group. I really used to enjoy open dungeons that required groups to go in there, and there would be other groups, and kind of like you'd find in Final Fantasy 11 and
Yeah.
Other Asheron's
You'll
called
see them
Asheron's
in
called
Elder
2.
Scrolls Online, actually.
Yeah, things like that. Public dungeons, great. They force you to
Dark
group.
Age.
Then, kind of like elite zones. I could think of another Ion. They had some really neat different elite areas that you had to go in and you had to fight with a group.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to see those places now. They've kind of normalized and made them normal mobs, so you can go in there solo, which kind of makes sense as the game's age, and you're going to find fewer people in those low areas to actually do that group content with. But I mean, if we just wanted to play single player all the time, why are we playing MMOs?
I think it's a good question, but I think the answer would simply be that a lot of people like to play. It's a feeling of being alone together. You know what I mean? Like they might in real life, they might be the same way. They might like to be around people but not interact with them. And you're going to
Gotcha.
find soloers that want to be in a world where there's other people and that they know when they log out that world's still going on, but they may not want to play and be hassled with other people. They still want to do their own thing. If Susie were here, that would be what she would tell you, because I know she's a hardcore soloer.
Yeah, it's like going to the library to read a book.
Yeah, essentially, or just going to the mall to stare at all the rednecks. And
So, for me, it's a mixed bag. I like to be able to do things solo in MMOs, and I think they need to keep catering to that. But, I like at the same time that there's group content, and so.
yeah, I think, and I think the ideal games are going to come out where the point is doesn't matter. How do I put this? Where
Going to Starbucks to hang out on your laptop.
You can do any bit of content however you want, and it will scale to meet you. That's what it'll be the best. Like the best MMO to me will be if you go out solo, you can do it solo, and everything from rewards and difficulty will scale to meet you. If you go out with a group, you can do it with a group, and those rewards and that difficulty will scale to meet the size and abilities of your group. But I think we're a bit of a ways from that kind of mobility and agility in design. I would love to see it happen. I'm sick of, like, for instance, I'm sick of, like, just 5-mans and things like that being the de facto dungeon build. Why can't there be more 2-mans and 3-mans and stuff like that?
You say that, but because of that, it shows your ignorance, Bill, and that you obviously haven't paid attention to my Wayback Wednesdays and watched Lord of the Rings online recently.
Oh,
Because if you did,
well, yeah. There's a
let me
couple
enlighten
games
you.
out there that have those. DC Universe has duos
Yeah.
also. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's not
Sorry
one of
to
those
say that.
things that a lot of people think about.
Pokey
Like,
poke there.
well, like for real though, like a new game doesn't do it. Like new
No,
games
they
don't
won't.
usually throw that out
Yeah.
there. They're like, okay, so here's a checklist of stuff we've got to have. We've got to have.
Triumph's got Chronicles. That's
Yeah,
a new game that
that's-
has, but
I
it doesn't
guess
have a
that's
lot
true.
of them. It just
No.
it has very few.
Very
of them.
few. But it would be
But,
cool if they could. I mean, why not retrofit their old dungeons as Chronicles? I don't know. It's just one of those things that I think there are a lot of groups. There's a lot of people out there that play with just a couple people, or even just one other person, that would be benefit from that. Yeah.
I agree. I guess the old adage though for a while was in order to make it epic, it had to
It had to
involve
be big.
a lot of people.
That was
You know.
that was
Is it-
Tygel.
I-
That was Tygel's doing, his EverQuest doing.
yeah.
What was that guy's real name? I can't remember, but he was a huge member of that. Was it Fires of Heaven Guild for EverQuest? And he was just an awful person, but a very hardcore raider. A very
Children's that too.
yeah, he was a very smart guy, a very good gamer and everything like that. And he was the one that was driving force behind Blizzard's early 40-man raids mentality and elite snobbery mentality. But as they saw, like for any game to truly succeed, it has to still be able to cater to the masses as well as those elite people, and that's a tough line to walk. And I guess that goes right hand in hand with grouping. Is the people that love raiding want to be able to raid and have that challenge and have that prestige that comes with successfully defeating these raids, and then the people that don't like raiding feel excluded from that content. And then the people that don't like soloing, if there's content that's designed solo, it's not good enough for them either. They want content that's for groups, and good lord, pleasing everybody sucks.
Well, when you got an older game and a lot of systems, it's easier to do that. As far as the raiding goes, though, personally, like to raid when I can. Don't really have the time, so it's not something I get to do a lot of. But I enjoy having a number of people, more than just 5 or 6, more than the group. But I guess maybe 10 would be okay. You don't have to, or 12. It doesn't have to be 40. Though I was a huge 40-man Raider and Vanilla WoW. I loved it. I loved getting all those people together, camaraderie, and it felt amazing to finally take down a boss that no one else on the server had yet.
First time you took down Mags and you were like,
yeah, And I was the hunter, so I'm sitting there like trank shot. I'm like, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up.
don't fuck it up.
Yeah,
I want my
don't miss it. Don't let it rage.
I want my
Don't let it eat
goddamn bow. I want my
Kelithar.
goddamn bow at the end.
Yeah, well, that was
It was the Epic Quest.
Major Domo.
It was Major Domo. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, who gave you the leaf, and then you had to go fight the 4 demons, which, by the way, only spawn like once every 24 hours, and then someone could grief you, and it's.
If you
Yes,
had,
I had that. If you're
I
gonna
was gonna
ask.
say, if you had to do that all over again, knowing how gearflation would happen, would you do it again?
Yes.
Exactly, because it was an awesome, epic thing to do.
It was epic.
Yeah.
And it was solo epic. Once you
Except for
did
that one
by
raid
yourself.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, so for the raid part, once you got into the rest of it, that was solo epic. To the point where, if anybody else tried to help you, though, which later they were able to figure out people could,
Yeah.
you could bug some stuff out. But I fortunately was able to do it all solo.
We're totally off track. I think we started.
No, we're talking about group play and solo play. I think we're good.
I think it matches. It all goes
I think
together.
actually that kind of gives a perfect example of how they're both good in an MMO, because you got the, but
And sometimes you can be in a group, playing in a group, but not necessarily having to do group content. That's also, I think, a thing. Like, there's nothing better than just roaming about with friends too in the open world.
And just having a guild chat to talk to, just the people there.
And even that, even that's an extension of grouping. If you are active in your guild and you may not be playing with them, but you're talking with them, that's being part of the community too. So, I think it's pretty clear where we stand, Rob. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Group content. I enjoy it.
Content for everybody.
There we go.
Here's my there. Okay. Well, everybody, it is about 10 o'clock. We are through all of our topics. I want to thank you for coming out on a Friday night to watch MMOFTW live with myself, Bill Murphy. You can follow me at the Bill Murphy on Twitter, and Rob Graculin Lashley. You can follow him at Graculin. That's Grakulen. And we will be live again probably next Friday, because this works, because now I can go to bed and sleep and not get up tomorrow that early. I know you have to, but I guess I shouldn't get too used to that with a kid on the way. Is that right, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 o'clock. She's up and ready to eat a bottle. 8 o'clock every morning.
That's not bad. See,
Doesn't care.
I'm used to getting up at 4, so 8 o'clock seems like a luxury to me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm up before then.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming out. Thanks. Enjoyed having you. We'll put the video up on YouTube and then on MMORPG tomorrow morning. Also, stay tuned next week. There are, I believe, some pretty cool things coming up. I can't tell you more than that, but some good announcements both this next week and the week after that. It's just January starting off with a few big bangs. So keep your eyes peeled to MMORPG.com, and we will see you next week.